Yes, people, you know the face, you know the name. Aaron here, back again with another video. Shout out to everyone tuning in, showing love and support. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And listen, if you haven't already, please like, share, comment, subscribe. You're helping the channel massively by doing these things, so please go ahead and do so. And listen, I've said that twice now, but listen, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you probably watched the game. This is straight after the final. Crystal Palace. I need to turn my phone off. Yeah, this is a bad look. Apologies, people. Crystal Palace have won the FA Cup 2025. Wow. This really is the season of the so-called smaller teams. And this is something that I talked about at the start of the season. I said, what if this could be the season of the so-called smaller teams? You know, on one hand, you got Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup. On the other hand, you've got Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup for the first time in their history. Same for Crystal Palace, first time in their history. Then you got, in different countries, you got Bologna winning the Coppa Italia for the first time in their history. Like this, we've got first times all over the continent at this point. And I'm loving it. As a neutral football fan, I am absolutely loving it. And listen, credit to Crystal Palace. They won this game by sticking to their principles, not playing fancy football per se, but they got the job done. And we'll talk about Manchester City in a minute. But first things first, I've got to give credit to Oliver Glasner. He has brought European football to Selhurst Park. Europa League nights, Thursday nights at Selhurst Park. That's going to be amazing for the fans, for the club, for the players. What he's been able to do with this squad is unbelievable. They didn't have the best of starts to the season. In fact, their season was close to be a disastrous one. After not being able to win games here and there, drawing games here and there, but they stuck to what they were working on. Oliver Glasner is up there with one of the best coaches in the world. And a lot of people laughed at me when I said that at the start of the season. This is someone who won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt, beating the likes of Barcelona away from home. This is someone who's a DFB Pokal runner-up with Frankfurt again. And now he's won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace and qualified them for the Europa League. That is remarkable. Honestly, Oliver Glasner, top coach. Crystal Palace have not made a mistake by signing him and appointing him to be the new Crystal Palace manager. They've not made a mistake. And now they're proud of him, 100%. In terms of the game itself, I think there's only one place to start, the goal. You know, and we'll talk about the ins and outs of the goal in a minute. But the goal was absolutely perfectly executed. From the back, centre-back plays it up front to Jean-Philippe Mateta, holds it up very well. You know, good combination, good hold-up play with his wingers, and Eze to finish it. And we'll talk about Eze in a minute as well. But yeah, great finish from Eze. And after that, Crystal Palace just, you know, grinded it out. And this is what you do sometimes in a final. It's not necessarily always about who plays the prettiest football. This is a final. You have to want it more. You have to be able to try and, you know, show desire to win it. It's not always about who plays the pretty football. Sometimes, yes, it can set you apart in terms of you and your opponent, but it's all about who wants it more. And I thought today Crystal Palace wanted it more. They did get away with a big issue there, and that was the handball from Dean Henderson. And today he was man of the match, but really and truly, he shouldn't have been on the pitch. Let's be honest, guys. He shouldn't have been on the pitch. That was a blatant handball. It was outside the box. It should have been a red card. And maybe if the referees in VAR checked it properly and made the decision properly, we could have been sat here talking about a completely different outcome. And maybe we could have been sat here talking about Manchester City winning the FA Cup, Pep Guardiola saving the season for Manchester City, and Kevin De Bruyne, winning his last final with Man City. But You know, it wasn't meant to be. I think it was a mistake from the referees to not call this one and to not give Henderson a red card. But, you know, it is what it is. And Crystal Palace win the FA Cup. Now, there's one player I want to talk about, and that's Eberechi Eze. I want to talk about Eze because for a long time, people have been questioning him, and they've always asked the same question. He's a fantastic player, but can he do it week in, week out? Can he do it on a weekly basis? Can he do it when it matters the most? Because the narrative around Eze was, he's a good player. He's technically very, very good. But can he do it in the big games? Can he do it week in, week out? Can he do it in the big moments? And as soon as people started to question that, it's like there was a switch in his head and he started to deliver week in, week out. You know, there's countless goals that you can think of. In the semi-final, scored a goal. Then midweek against Arsenal, in between, you know, other games that they had to play. Fantastic goal outside the area, outside the box, I should say. And he just started to perform week in, week out. And I just knew this final was made for him because he's had an outstanding season for Palace. And remember, this is a Palace side that sold the likes of Michael Olise. So really and truly, you could have said, they're probably going to struggle here. But no, Eze said, you know what? I'm going to take the reins. I'm going to take that responsibility to try and be the main man wearing the number 10 for Crystal Palace. And listen, if this was a loss for Crystal Palace, I would have said, you know what? Eze can probably look at moving to a different team. But come on, why would you not stick around for 2 more years? I mean, next season you're playing, you know, Eze's going to be playing Europa League football. Listen, honestly, Eberechi Eze, fantastic performance, fantastic season as well. I've got to shout out some other people in the squad. Adam Wharton. I'm such a big fan of Adam Wharton, man. There's a reason why Southgate brought him to the Euros last year. Didn't really play him that much. Maybe he deserved a bit more minutes, but what a performance. Today, that midfield consisted of 2 people. It was Adam Wharton, and it was, who else played in midfield? I keep forgetting his name. Just give me a few, and my internet's acting up again. But yeah, Adam Wharton in that midfield was absolutely immense. Immense performance from Adam Wharton. Honestly, man, that shouldn't be going under the radar. Another one I want to shout out, Munoz. Could you imagine having someone like Munoz in your team, just up and down that flank? Unbelievable performance. Very unlucky that the goal got ruled out. Disallowed, I should say. The goal got disallowed because there was an offside position from Ismail Assar. But Munoz, listen, that's another one. Another player that people are going to be looking at. Teams are going to be looking at and going, listen, can we come in and try and negotiate something for Munoz? Amazing performance. Amazing performance. And, you know, there's so many that I want to shout out, but I can't, you know, focus on too many players here. But Mateta, you know, the substitutes that came on, they done really well. Dean Henderson, the defence, Richards, the captain, Guehi, like everyone done their part and everyone did their job for Palace to try and win this competition, to try and win this tournament, which they did. So credit to Crystal Palace, credit to, was it Steve Parish, the owner, and credit to Oliver Glasner. This is thoroughly deserved. Now listen, we got to talk about the losers. Manchester City. I mean, it is not looking good, is it? It is not looking good. Trophyless season. They have not been able to save their season. You had the feeling like they played this game in slow motion. Pass here, pass there, pass here, pass there. It was the same patterns, the same things. Nobody was trying to take initiative. Nobody was trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, let me decide this game. I think Pep and Arteta actually have the same problem. They have the same problem. They want to walk the ball into the back of the net. How many times have I seen Manchester City today be in good positions, O'Reilly being in good positions in the box, but he's still trying to cut back and then shift it to his left and then try and pass it to someone. No, just shoot. Obviously, Palace did well to defend and they were throwing themselves into those shots. They were trying to defend with their whole bodies. You know, some of the players getting shots into their faces and all that. But I just felt like they were playing this game in slow motion, and I felt like there was a bit of an arrogance in Manchester City's way of playing in terms of the way they were passing the ball around. We'll pass the ball around and at some point it will work. No, my friends, this is not how it works. This is not how it works. Kevin De Bruyne played his last ever final for Manchester City. It wasn't a good one because apart from, being in that half space on the right-hand side and crossing the ball in, I don't really see what he brought to the game. I don't really see what he brought to the game. This is a season to forget for Manchester City, honestly. This is a season to forget for Man City. This is a season to forget for Pep. He definitely overthought it with certain details. Why on earth would you put Marmoush on penalty duties when you got Haaland there? I just don't understand it. But that's textbook Pep. Sometimes it comes to games where he just overthinks it. And it costs him games. And in this case, it costs him a trophy. It cost him a trophy. And I do think they need a revamp. There's a reason why they got linked to players like Tijani Reinders and Florian Wirtz. There's a reason why, and I understand now. I can see it because there's nobody taking initiative. They're missing that X factor. Players that will create something out of nothing, that don't have to rely on a system to be able to create something. So that was a disappointing performance for Man City. The only two players for me that kind of looked lively were Doku. He was doing his thing on the left-hand side, creating problems. And Echeverri. Look, can we talk about Echeverri? Where the heck did he come from? Was he even allowed to play? When was he registered? I had no clue. Obviously, I didn't check the lineups before the game on my phone. I just kind of saw the lineup on TV and I was still on my phone doing stuff. So I didn't even check the bench. It completely passed me by that Echeverri was on the bench. And he came on and he actually looked good. And it just makes me think, Pep, why not take a gamble? I mean, you could have brought him on earlier because he visibly brought a threat, rather. He was a threat when he came on. So, I don't know, man. It's a weird one with Man City, but we all know how Man City operate. Summer comes around, transfer window opens on the 1st of June. They're going to be splashing the cash, aren't they? They're going to be splashing the cash, and that's how they're going to be solving their problems. I don't doubt that Pep is a good coach. Listen, don't get me wrong. But Pep didn't manage to coach himself out of this situation. And clearly he's waiting for Rodri to come back because he does not trust Nico Gonzalez. He does not trust that guy whatsoever, because how come this guy got 0 minutes in this final today? 0 minutes. It's unheard of, for somebody they bought for a lot of money. What was it? 40 plus, 50 plus million? That's a lot of money. 0 minutes in a final, not even brought on when they needed a goal. Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, I want to finish off by talking about this topic. I want to talk about the big difference in the two centre forwards that we saw today, Jean-Philippe Mateta and Erling Haaland. Do you see the difference between someone who's great at scoring goals, an absolute machine, but is not putting himself to the service of the team, not putting himself to the service of his teammates? And on the other hand, you've got someone who's banging in goals as well, not at the rate of Erling Haaland, but you can see he's at the service of his team, his teammates, and he works for his teammates. He works for others. The perfect example is that goal that Crystal Palace scored. The way Jean-Philippe Mateta held up that ball. You won't see Haaland do that. Haaland, now I know he came back from an injury, but today he just looked off it. He looked off it. And I'll tell you what, I saw a stat straight after the game and I couldn't believe what I read. Let me read it out to you. Erling Haaland has now failed to score in his last 9 cup finals, and all 8 that he has featured in for Manchester City, including Community Shields. He's also failed to score in his 6 appearances for the club at Wembley. Oh, uncomfortable conversations, man. Uncomfortable conversations. Jean-Philippe Mateta showed Erling Haaland what it is to be a centre forward today. Hold up play. Sometimes he looked a bit clumsy, but technique was okay. Didn't get to manage to be in positions where he could finish, but we all know Jean-Philippe Mateta can finish. And listen, Europa League football for Jean-Philippe Mateta. Didier Deschamps, are you watching? Are you watching? The difference between both of them was absolutely incredible. Haaland was nowhere to be seen. If anything, at certain points, he looked a bit lost. And him and Marmoush, I can see a bit of problems there in the future. I don't think both of them can play in the same team, let alone combine together. Because even in terms of combination, have they even tried to find each other today? I don't think so. So, a lot of question marks. There. And listen, it's not like you can say, well, they can get rid of Haaland and now focus on a bit of more of a moving striker, if I can say that, in Marmoush, because he signed a new deal until 2030 or 2034 even. He signed that, ridiculous bumper deal. So Haaland has to stay there now. So it's up to Pep to find solutions to try and make this work. Marmoush, Echeverry, Haaland, how is he going to deal with that? That's going to be very interesting to see. But boy, no Premier League, no Champions League, no Carabao Cup, no FA Cup. A season to forget for Manchester City, honestly. But listen, let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It's Road to 20K. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you very soon. Peace.